Okay, so hi everyone. Thank you, Shweta, for the introduction. So before starting, I'll just give a brief introduction about the company. So Nemetschek was founded by Sir George Nemetschek, and in 1963, the establishment has many non-profitable foundation and is a promoter of education, science, art, and culture. So Nemetschek advocates open BIM standards and interoperability. So we provide software solution across the life cycle of the building, right from planning to design to construct. Those softwares are developed by market pioneers who understand the industry challenge and the pain areas. So Nemetschek also spent 24% of its revenue in research and development, and we have also put a lot of resources in AI development, which will be evident in near future. So Nemetschek caters 14 strong solution across four segments. We approx are 1 billion company. So this is old data. This is 2020 through 23 data. So we have several million users worldwide, and globally we have 3,600 employees working with us. So these are the four segments which we have. So under planning and design, we have Allplan, Risa, Graphisoft, Solibri, and Vectorworks. Under Nemetschek Engineering, we have Freelo and SIA, which is again for structural and load analysis. Then under Built and Construct, we have Bluebeam and Navaris, which are document management systems. Then under Operate and Manage, we have Crim Solution, Spacewell. Under Media and Entertainment, we have Maxon. And under Digital Twin Business Unit, we have DRoffice and D12. So in India, we have currently brought six products. So this is our, the complete solution deck. So under architectural, we have Vectorworks and ArchiCAD for concept design, schematic, landscape, interior, and detail design. Under engineering, we have RISA, and it is a software for structural and load analysis. Then under engineering construction, we have SDS2 and Allplan, which is used for concrete and steel detailing respectively. And we also have a Bluebeam, which caters along all the segments. It is a document management software. And Solibri is a rule-based checking software. So this is what we are going to cover in today's webinar. So first we will see the SDS2 workflow, then the basic MRP layout, what we are following. Then we will put some highlight on the requirement of, PowerFab export. Then some standard procedure which we have to follow while detailing and modeling the SDS structure. And then we will do PowerFab export setup. And then we will see how to, import a SDS2 PFXS file into PowerFab. So I'll quickly jump onto the focus of today. So SDS2 is a leading provider of steel detailing software, which provides automated connection and fabrication intelligence. SDS2 was founded in 1981 and it has been in the market from last 43 years. And SDS2 got it merger with Allplan in 2022. So this is the basic workflow of SDS. So the first and foremost thing in SDS is the setup. So this is the most critical step where you put a lot of data into the system, where you define your auto standard connection, what is your fabrication preferences, what bolt type you want, what is your the requirement, what environment you want, and what profile size and material size you want your model to be. So after that data, you basically make a 3D model out of it. Then you may take erection drawings, details, and submittal out of the model. And then you do the MRP export. So out of, we are currently focusing on the MRP export, that is your PowerFab export. So before that, we will see what step we have to take, into consideration while doing a setup, while modeling, while taking out the erection sheet, detail sheet, submittal, and how we have to do our project setup. So let's start. So before actually starting with the topic, I'll give you a brief summary, what MRP exports we were using. So earlier we used to use Fabtrol, then we used to send a KSS file. But the KSS file is not capable of carrying a large information. So that's why Nowadays, a lot of fabricators are asking for XML file. Okay, so we have a lot of added advantage of on XML file. So you can send a GUIDs, global, universal IDs, where it carries the data to integrate with the any cloud collaboration platform like Trimble Connect and with the PowerFab. Then there are many other improvements between SDS and PowerFab side. So that is also been integrated into XML. Then XML can also carry a lot of data regarding drawing logs like revision dates, okay, revision descriptions and all. Then, ABM data, you can send it in IFC EM11 format. Okay, so the XML from a SDS and XML from a Tekla, both are different. Okay, so XML is basically a markup language. So each detailing product have its own specific tags. So a Tekla, for example, calls a phases and SDS call a sequences. Okay, so both are different. They are not the same. And one more thing, in SDS XML, you have both the model bill of material and the detail sheet bill of material. So, I always recommend to, add everything through model. Okay, make a physical model and then, add it into the sheet. Do not just make a 2D drawing it or add a detail into the drawing and send it to for PowerFab, because what happens in that condition, it is going to compare the, detail sheet and the model bomb. And if there is any discrepancy, it is going to show it into your import log. Okay, because in SDS, it is going to authorize the final authorization is your sheet bomb only. Okay, so whenever you export a PowerFab, you generally get a file format that is called as PFXS. So that is PowerFab Exchange SDS2. Okay, it is just a zip file. Basically, if you see the below image, you can see in that file, you will have your CNC file, your drawings, and your XML. So, if you export it from a Tekla, it is PFXT. This is same PowerFab Exchange format Tekla. Okay. And the main thing what you have to consider is never mess with the format. Okay. So whatever file structure you get from SDS to export, do not do any changes. Okay. Do not replace anything. Okay. So because PowerFab want everything, to be spelled the same way. So let's see what all the modifications which are permitted. Okay. So the first change what you can do is you can, there are a lot of sheets where you have multiple sheet for one member, like trusses. You have 100 beam, a 100 number sheet, then 100A, 100B. Same for the stair, you have stair 100A and 100B. So in that condition, what you can do, you can club those three sheets into one for one particular member, keep the bomb on the first sheet. Okay, and then you can replace that one single file into your drawing log. Then the second thing what you can do, if the fabricator want, you can replace the CNC file if you miss anything. Okay, in this, that is allowed. And the third thing what you can do is you can change the job name if required. Okay, you can see in the below image, you can edit this area. Other than this, I always recommend do not mess with the file format. Okay. So let's moving forward again. So when you are doing a project setup, always, consider these key areas. I am going to demonstrate everything which what I am speaking into in this webinar. But I just want you to note a few key points. Okay. So the first thing is member should always have a main material. So if you go into your, project setting and fabrication and member and material piece marking option, always have this tick on. So use member mark for the member main model. Okay. Then second thing, in PowerFab, the main issue what happens is, for example, there is a stud. Okay. So in SDS, we call it as HD, for example, and in PowerFab, it calls as STD. So when you import a file, the PowerFab do not understand what HD means. Okay. So you have to do a mapping. So if you see the below image, this is the standard image what PowerFab has. Okay. So always ask your fabricator to send this kind of report. or the, member or piece marking and grade log. So you can set under your fabrication and member and material piece marking under prefixes that what name tag should come for any given individual member or material. Okay. Then the next thing is grade. Okay. So, same in that log, you will have the grades. So always check whenever you are sending, for example, anchor rod, you have F1554105, this grade. So this grade supposed to be there in your PowerFab. Else, when you import any grade or any, report, PowerFab report, it is going to notify that this grade is not found. So it is basically going to make your life difficult. The next thing you have to, consider is in anchor bolt. Okay. In SDS, we call it as RB, round bar. Okay. While in PowerFab, it is called as AB. Okay. So always make sure that in your shapes property and in your round bar, you always add a AB designation there. Okay. So keep your round bars, add one more line as like RB 3 by 4, add one more line as AB 3 by 4. And when you are doing any anchor bolt, select that material. So the abbreviation will be correct. And when you import it, the PowerFab can easily recognize. Okay. Then, your member finish is supposed to be consistent and should be correct. So for example, if you have two members, okay, so, and sometime you have your finish auto check as untick and you copy that material to a galvanized material. Okay. So, the same piece mark, one will have a different finish and another will have a different finish. So those kind of inconsistencies will create a problem. I'm going to demonstrate this in further slides. Okay. So let's move forward. Uh, what other things you have to consider is grating. So in PowerFab, PowerFab always need the bar thickness in the bill of material. Okay. Then, for example, if you're adding any anchor bolt, okay, so you see, like you have to, add it into your project setting and then add it into your, into your project. So it can be reflected into bill of material. Okay. Then if you see the project setting in this, in your bolt designation, always choose bolt material only. So what this will happen is, if suppose you have any, TC bolt like F1852, it will not come as F1852N. So you do not have to give description because PowerFab do not understand that. So always remember you have this setting on to bolt material only. Okay. Then there is one more setting under bolt detailing setting only for breaking apart your bolt nut and washer. So always remember, do not do that if you are sending a PowerFab export, because in that condition, PowerFab will read duplicate quantities. Okay. Then the next thing, if suppose your fabricator wants, you can use the routing setting, but you need the information from the fabricator, like, where you want to populate the, routing, whether you want it in bill of material, in remark, or you want need a new column. So all those kind of settings, always ask your fabricator before proceeding. So now this is the key areas what you have to take care while sending, in the project setup. Now we'll go further for the CNC files. So in CNC, always remember to check this part. Include attached submaterial in member download. So, if you check this also, okay, you have to check this for both, for your DSTV and DXL. Okay. So previously, nowadays, all the PowerFab need the submaterial or the gather data, to be included into your CNC files. And one more thing, if suppose you are sending any other files like your Bentech, EMI, or HGG or Lightning Rail, try to keep it as a separate export. Do not include into your PFXS format. The next SOP we are going to discuss is regarding modeling. Okay. So the modeling, the first thing is what I already discussed is the SDS2 model is to contain all elements. Okay. Only 2D drawing or details are not permitted. You have to have a solid physical member into the model and then you have to detail it. Okay. If suppose, if it is a dummy member, add it as a dummy member and then, add it into bill of material. Then if you are breaking any member apart, always consider that one member should be have a main material. Okay. Then do not swap, a member ends for primary members. Then group members are not permitted in PowerFab export. Okay. Then you have to keep your finishes consistent and be very careful with the user piece mark. Okay, so SDS has a very solid piece marking engine. So if SDS is giving a different piece mark, try to keep it as it is, because user piece marking can cause issue when the member is not truly identical. There might be a 116 or 18 or 0.001 inches of difference in the two members. Okay, so now moving forward, we will discuss about the detailing SOPs. So in the detailing SOPs, what you have to do is basically, so first thing is you have to load one member on one sheet. Okay, so if suppose there is, generally PowerFab, we do not entertain, multi members on one sheet. It's always better if you want to make your life easy, load one member on one sheet. Okay, for both gathers and shop drawings. The second thing is you have to keep your member mark and the sheet name as same. So for example, if I have a beam name as 1B1, try to keep the sheet name as also 1B1. Okay. Then in the erection part, for erection drawing, multiple sheets or multiple views you can load on one sheet. There is no problem. But try to keep your primary views first. Okay. Then editing in bill of material is not permitted. So if you are planning to do any editing in bill of material, please do not do it except a few changes which you can do. So the first thing what you can do is you can, if a stranger is there, so a stranger, a lot of main members are there, so left right stranger, if there is a return that is there, so always try to keep the longest material on the top, so as PowerFab will consider that as your main member. Then the second modification which is allowed is if suppose you have any buyout item in any special condition, fabricator asks you to add a buyout member, you can do that, but always note that if you are changing any quantity, change it through unit quantity. Okay, do not directly change the total quantity. Okay, then the next change what you can do is in PowerFab it always, so because when you import it, PowerFab needs some data, so in that data PowerFab always need a bill of material, your quantity, description, length and minor mark. Okay, so whenever you are adding any bill of a member manually, try to consider that you add a quantity, you add a description, length and a minor mark for that. Then the next thing is for adding any revision chart. Okay, do not add a revision chart manually. Try to keep the revision chart through your sheet revision chart editor, or increment sheet revisions. Through that only try to do the revision. And lastly, you have to set a detail complete date. Okay, I'm not telling to keep a detail complete date on the sheet, on the detail, but keep it on the sheet. Okay, because in SDS you have a concept that you have a detail and you copy that detail onto the sheet, but for a fabricator there is no concept like for a detail and detail sheet. What he want to see is a detail sheet, that's it. So always set the date on detail sheet. Okay, so now what we have discussed, I have just prepared, I'll just demonstrate what exactly you have to do. So let's go. SDS2 is different than Tekla structures. With SDS2, we have a number of added benefits. So with SDS2, what happens is when we export a file and it imports into the PowerFab, we contain inside that file both the member data and the bill of material data. So let's go ahead and open this up. Just I'll open my XML file. This will give you a nice idea about what's going on. So let's open. So right now, if you see here, inside of this, you can see We have our bill of material data, and we also have our member data. So now when this is imported into PowerFab, it does a comparison between both of this, and it takes the bill of material as the final authority. So if there is any discrepancy between a part, or let's say a member, or it is modified in bill of material, it is going to go ahead and notify with a warning onto the port log. Okay. Okay. So the reason why I bring this up is in SDS2, in your bill of material, you can make modifications. So now what I strongly advise people to do is to try everything through the model. But there are some times when you have to add something into the model, or you have to make some modifications. But like Hiltis, or any saddle clips or something like that. But I always encourage to follow the model discipline, and get everything through the model. So here, if you see, for a round plate, okay, you always have to put a length here, okay, so that you get everything correct in your PowerFab. Okay. The other thing what I want to tell you is whenever you add any manual material, so always change the unit quantity, okay, and that is going to update your total quantity. Do not try to just update the total quantity and leave the unit quantity as it is. Then, okay, let me open my stair. So let me open my bill of material. So yeah, so now if you see here in stair, there are a lot of main members. There are more than one main member. So, if you see here, all these are, main members, so returns and, main stranger. So I always, encourage, always try to move your longest, material with the longest length up. Okay. So when you do this, what happened? PowerFab will consider this as the main material line. Else, you will have your small return like 4 feet or 3 feet 11 as your, member, and you are going the fabricator is going to complain about it. Now I'll go and I'll open my B14. So okay, so let me open. So now if you see here, you can notice that I have added this biomaterial peach cobbler, and if you see, it has a piece mark PCF and grade A 4000. So again, in Tekla PowerFab, it really likes to have a piece mark and a grade. So if you see here, the PCF is the piece mark which I have added here, so we do not have any issues in your PowerFab export. So now let's go on to a sheet. So in SDS2, unlike Tekla structure, it have a detailed sheet and a detail. Okay, so we basically put a detail on a detail sheet. So, but all the fabricators, for them, there is nothing like a sheet or a detail. Okay. Everything for them is a sheet. So the best practice is to, place one member on one sheet. Yeah. I'm not telling that if you put multiple member on a sheet, it will create an issue, but you might face, problem in occasional cases. Okay, so the best practice is to always have one sheet, one detail per sheet. Okay, and this other thing which I want to explain you is, make this member mark on of on the sheet and the sheet name. Try to match these both things. So, for example, if it is 1000B, keep this as also 1000B. So if it matches, it makes your life easier, and it gets a proper PowerFab export. So the other thing which I want to bring into notice is I have set my status, my detail complete date on the sheet. Okay, not on the detail. I have kept it on the sheet. You know, this information can be used to populate a lot of information into PowerFab. So now a lot of retailers are complaining that, you know, uh, setting the detail complete date, going each sheet and, updating it. So you do not have to do that. You can, directly go into your utilities and go into update attributes. So, here you can directly, set your detail complete, with one single go. So, okay, now we'll go a little bit further here. So let me open this. So with PowerFab, you have your shape, size, and grade. So in a shape, size, and grade. So let me open up a stud. Okay. So if you see on a sheet, the stud is notified as STD. If I go on to the dimension, you have all the dimensions. You have the grades also. So, if I go and if I, give another example like HSR. So here also you can see all the, related grades are mentioned. And, so, you know, whenever you are importing any data into, SDS, so the main issue what happens is, for example, they say brinjal and you say eggplant. So when import the data, it says, no, I know brinjal, but there is an eggplant. So it's the same thing. Just what you have to do is you have to map the data. So, let's go and we'll see, go to STD and I'll show you what exactly the thing is. So in PowerFab, you can see the shape abbreviation is STD. You know. Now in this SDS2, I'll go into my piece marking, member metal piece marking. Here, if you see in prefixes for stud, they have used HD, for their shear stud. So for grating threads they have GT, and for grating they have GR. So when we import this into our PowerFab, okay, so it says that I don't know what HD means. So, so for that reason only, I have to map this, into my PowerFab. So in my SDS, if it is HD, I have to tell, PowerFab that in the HD in PowerFab means STD. So, so, now you might be wondering like how as a detailer, how, I can get this. So always, ask your fabricator, go into reports, okay, and ask them to give you a list of your material group, shapes and shapes in size, and make a report and send it to you. Because a lot of time, there is a problem that this thing was set up by someone and he left the organization and he moved to any other position. Or for example, they have set it for Tekla structure and not for the SDS2. So, whenever they say, and that's why they say basically that my Tekla structure work fine and why there is a problem with the, SDS2. So, the reason is you have done everything for the Tekla and not for the SDS2. So, we have to fix it out. And the other issue, the problem you will face is with the fabricators who are using the fab suit. So, the main problem is they have been messing around with the main file from a long time, and and that is basically creating the problem. So sometimes you have to untangle the mass. And so let's again go back to this shape, size, and grade. So what you have to do is you have to select the shape list and grade list, and just hit the view, So you can see this is the shape, grades and, the shape abbreviation, which is in your PowerFab. So if you get this list, you can fix this into your, piece marking option, so you can map this easily and, you will not have an issue with your PowerFab. Okay, so now going back and let's see how you can export a PowerFab, okay, from your SDS2. So for that, there are a few basic requirements which a SDS user should have. So the first thing is you should go to your uh, sds2.com, then technical support and SDS2 toolbox. And from there, you can download a PowerFab plugin, which when you install it, it will directly get, attached with your SDS2 software. Then the next requirement is you should be current on your software subscription. So for example, if you have a perpetual license, you should be having on your AMC, and through that only you can use the toolbox plugins. Okay. And the next thing is you have to keep your SDS2 and PowerFab plugins up to date. Okay. And the next thing for using a PowerFab, I'm not saying that the older versions are not will not export a PowerFab. But if you use 2023 and higher version, a lot of improvements were done in these versions. So I always recommend use a 2023i and higher version for exporting a PowerFab. And for PowerFab, uh, check that the fabricator is supposed to be working on 2023 Service Pack 3 and higher. Okay, so I'll just show you. So if you go here on sds2.com, in under support, you have toolbox from where you can directly, install PowerFab. So under PowerFab, if you see, you have all the versions. Okay. So if suppose you have 23 or 24, always check what is the revision level. So for 2023, we have revision 6. So, as we get the feedback from the customer, we used to do some updation and, some revision and some fixes, and we used to release the revisions version of the same release. So in a year, it generally comes 2 or 3 times or, 4 times. So always, keep a check and see on which current version you're working and what is the current version which is available. So how you can do is, for example, 2023, this is revision 6. So you can go back, and when you export the PowerFab, you can see this is 2023.3, means this is revision 3. So always update, okay, download the latest revision 6 and install it again into your PowerFab. Then another thing is whenever you're exporting, always export a IFC file. Okay. And and from your project setting, jobs, plugin defaults and command plugins, you can set your default seed file for your PowerFab export. Okay. Okay. One more thing I just missed is in your PowerFab, your fabricator can check from the home window, like current version is 2023 SP3. So he's supposed to use this version. So you can always ask your fabricator, can you please check on your home screen and can you let me know what is the service pack you are working on? Okay. So about this, what I'll explain, I'll just have a small video to showcase. So let's go ahead. Okay, so now we will talk about how to set our seed model. So, to make a default setup which you can use for all the jobs for export. So for that, you have to go to the project settings, and then you have to go to the plugin defaults. Okay. And then to the command plugin. So this is all the toolbar options which you downloaded from SDS2 toolbox. So when you go to the PowerFab option, the first thing is the file name. Okay, so you can just leave as it is. So this is just a common how you want to display this tool. Then the second is output file. So, you can browse and you can choose where you want your export file to, save. You can change it as you want, okay? Then the second you want to as export file, then transfer type, instead of all data, I will always suggest go for a choose data, and you want to choose the data from your sheets, okay? Now the option is zone data. So let me explain you what this is. So whenever SDS to XML, export the data, so this zone data is generally pushed into. So let me open this and I'll explain you. So I'll just my file. Okay. So, this is the data which is, exported from SDS. So all the zone data members is pushed into the lot number, you know, or, the batch field. So Fabricator do not want you to, govern this, because it's up to them. They want to use this for the fabrication, or, for the shipping purpose. So, yeah, or for the trailer load or something like that. So that's why what you have to do is always exclude zone data. Okay. And, it's better not to have the zone data in your PowerFab export. So the next thing what we have here is drawings. So in drawings we have two part. One is include drawings, and the next part is exclude drawings. Okay. So if you can turn this tick, if you want to include the drawings in your PowerFab export. And the second thing is exclude. So always remember exclude. So you only want to exclude your detail sheet and submaterials. Okay. You always want the fabricator basically wants the sheets. So detail, gather, and erection sheets. So, never tick this, and always remember this is the exclude option. Okay. I know a lot of people are making mistake that, they are turning this off. So basically they are turning the tick on for the detail, gather, and erection, and basically it is not included into their package. So the next thing is CNC. Okay. So in CNC, if you want, you can include this into your package, or you can, some people wanted to send it separate. So it's up to you and your fabricator. So, some people want it to be a one big nice package, or some want it to be a separate, CNC file. So, now there is things which you have to, consider. So the first thing is configuration from setup. So if you have this check, so what it is going to do, it is going to have your CNC setup exported from your CNC setting, which is on your main, screen. So this is basically a global data. Okay. So global data means, whereas the setting which is there, the other configuration setting, this is the local setting. So, if you have any other machine like DSTV Padagus or control automation or any those kind of machines, and if you select this, this is only going to grab the data for the selected sheets you have, on which you have selected here. Okay. So, there is one more thing I want to tell you. So I just want to get a clear picture about this. So now there's one more thing I want to, remember about this. So if you go into your CNC settings, okay. So let me open. So, okay. So if I open my setup, okay, and always try to include your submaterial. Okay, do not miss to include your submaterial. Lot of fabricators just want this main material, but now most of the fabricator wants the submaterial to be included into their package. So you want to make sure that you include your submaterial into your DSTV export, and in this way system is going to go through and include all the submaterials of that particular member, and going to push into your PowerFab. So okay. One more thing I want to notify is, okay, this one more thing that here, whatever submaterials, you have ticked here, you have checked. So all those material types are going to get exported. Okay. So now I also tell you about the DXF plate also. So here also you have to just select this, and same in this setup also. If you go, you have to, yeah, you have to include the attached submaterial in member download option. Okay. So, so this is going to give you an idea what all materials are going to be pushed into your CNC setup. Okay. So, and okay. So now we'll go ahead and let me cancel this. Okay. So, there is one more thing which is important. So here, shipping mark used as main material. So are you setting your main material as the shipping mark? Okay. So in your project setting, if you go in, under your piece marking and under your material member and material piece marking, oh sorry, just let me close the old setting. So if you see, this is an option that use member mark for member main material in model. So always tick this, and what does this do is it will set your member mark for the main member in the model. Okay. Now, if you set this, you do not have to choose the above option, that is use member mark for a member main material in shopping. Okay. It's work for the same. So always remember you have this option ticked whenever you're doing a CNC export for PowerFab. Okay. So you will not have to worry about your CNC that it is going to mess up in your PowerFab exporter. Okay. So let's close this and let's come back. So I'll again go into my export. I'll go into my setup. So let me open again. So now the next option we have is IFC. So in IFC, this is a IFC EM11 file, which generally have an integration with PowerFab. So, whenever you're sending a PowerFab model, always, include the IFC, and that is IFCM 11, EM11. Okay, this is very important. Yeah. So when you send a IFC file, some people want to send it to a source file, okay? Or some people want to send all the members. So I will since this EMA level connects with the treble connect, so I always recommend to select your all members. So in that condition, you do not send only the selected sheets of the members. It's better you send all the members. Okay. So let's go on to the next option. So the next option is status. So in status, you see there are a lot of fields which you can populate into a PowerFab. So you have your release for fabrication. You can have your finishes or the routing options. Then you have your approvals and you have general settings. Okay. For example, member description. Always remember to include it. Okay, so where you feed this information is if you go into your model. So okay, so if you edit any member, oh sorry, I'm into material. Okay, so if you have this option for member description. Okay, so you can change your member description here, and whatever information you feed here will get populated into your PowerFab. So okay, then again going back, you know this information, if you feed it here, so what happens is, let me go into production control, let me open the PowerFab. So, here if you see the category field, so this field is going to, populate it through your member description. So, you know, so it's always better to, put these kind of information. So, okay, I'm going back. Then you have more options. Like if you go down, okay, so all these options are also there. So in fabrication you can choose if your fabrication want a station code or a station name or any barcode IDs or those. You can select this codes. These codes will be included into your package. So we have almost like done the setup files. We know how what we have to take care in the modeling and detailing. Then we have also exported a file. Now I just want to update you about how our actions will impact the PowerFab file. So in uh, PowerFab, they have a they read the member with GUIDs. So what are GUIDs are? These are globally unique identifiers, also known as UUID, that is universally unique identifiers. These are basically 128 bit values that represent a object. So, every member has a different GUID. So, for example, if you have two beams, both in SDS, maybe the piece mark is same, for example, B2, but in PowerFab, the GUIDs will be different for both the beams. So, it's kind of your Aadhaar card. So, even if you're twins, you will have your own different identity card of that Aadhaar card numbers. So, you know, if suppose if you see the last image, so this is B1000. So it is in four quantity, but it is containerized into one, piece mark under one piece mark, but every member has a separate GUIDs. So, how does GUIDs impact us? So, for example, the first thing is adding only the details and with no model or no counterpart that can create an issue. The second thing is, adding one part and modifying the bomb. So, for example, you have added one member. For example, if you're adding any, a backing bar or something like that, and or for example, you're adding any dummy material and then you are just editing the bomb, or uh, for example, the total quantity, you have only edited the total quantity and unit quantity you have not updated. Okay, so always update through unit quantity, automatically the total quantity will update. Or main material not matching the shipping mark. Okay, so and then if you break out any member, or if you do any revision chart, any updation, or you do any improper user piece marking, so those kind of things will affect the GUIDs. So let's understand what GUIDs are and how it impacts one by one. Okay,
So here I have added four beams, four B2s, and now I'll run a report for one of the beam. So these are all GUIDs. Let me push it up. Yeah. So all these are manufacturing goods. So they never change. If you do any editing, they will never change for a member. So they have two parts. So if you see the first part, that is the main member or assembly goods. And the second part is main material goods. So now if you see, again, I'm focusing that the member grid will not change. Now let's import this into our PowerFab. So I'll just select all the beams. I'll export it. So I have a pre-saved setting. Uh, so we'll go into the files and just import the uh, PFXS file. Import. I'll save. Okay. Okay, so now this is a mapping file which determines how you want to map certain data. So now moving forward, we'll just map the data. And now you can see B2s are imported, 4 B2s. I'll continue, and you can see the import is successful. Now if I run my MRP report, you can see B2 is in 4 quantities. Okay. Now I'll do some, changes here. So I'll change this beam to a different profile size. Let's beef it up. So we'll change it to a W14 by 34. Okay. So now you can see there are three different beams with B2 and one separate beam with B3. Let's open the report. Let's bring the older report just for our reference. Okay. So now you can see the assembly gauge is still the same, but the main material gauge is changed because we have changed the profile size. Okay. Now what we will do is we'll just change the length of this beam. So we'll just increase it by a foot, and now let's again run the report. So now let's arrange all the 3 reports. I'll bring the previous reports. Let's arrange it somewhat. Okay, now. So if you see, the main or the assembly grid is still the same for all the 3 beams. Okay, but here the main material grid is also same. Why? Because we have only increased the length. We have not done any major, changes. So that's why the main material grid is same for the last change. Now, what we will do is only B3 changed? Is there any change into B2? Yes, the quantity of B2 has changed. But now a lot of users, what they do is they just, export only the changed material. So that is also one reason for, having issue in your PowerFab export. So, for example, here the B2 quantities are, for example, 300 quantities are there and only 6 are changed. And if you only send the revised quantity or the revised member, then the PowerFab will overwrite the data and it will only consider the 6 beams. So now I'll just showcase, we'll export this one beam and we'll see what happens. So now I'll just import the data, that pfxs format. Let's import. I'll just save and replace same mapping file and I'll press OK. So data is imported. Now you can see it is written as update. So it is updating the B3. So let's go to continue and let's see what is happening here. Okay. So here you can see it's written as B2 is deleted. Okay. So now this is a warning sign. So let's open the report and let's see what exactly going on. So now you can see only B3 is there. There is no B2 and B3 is in one quantity. So now this is the kind of problem you will face if you only send the changed material and you will not send the complete big file. So now we'll do one thing. We'll send the complete file and we'll see what is the change we see. So I'll just again export these 4 all beams. I'll just import it again. And I'll save. I'll again map the file. So data is imported. Now you can see the B2 and B3 both are updated. So if you see B2 quantity is updated and B3 also quantity, and it's basically newly added. Now we'll just continue. Okay. And we'll see what is the background scene. Now you can see B3, B2 is in 3 quantity and B3 is in 1 quantity. So I always recommend whenever you're sending a package, send a complete happy package, not this of the selected members. Okay.
Okay. So now this is the impact what we have when we only send, the revised sheets. So if you are very sure that what you're sending is okay, then only send it. Or, it's better to send the complete package. Why? Because I already told, when you send the first package, the GUIDs will never change. So the PowerFab will already have a record of those members. Now, if you send a new file, okay, so for example, let's say GUIDs is XYZ for the three beams, and you change to one beam, and you are only sending the one beam. So when it read, okay, XYZ is there, okay, so what it will do, it will consider that the three beams are now deleted and only one beam is there. So always send a big package, complete package, instead of sending the selected sheets. Now we will see the impact of GUIDs on revision. So for example, you have sent the material to fabricator, okay? So the material is already in the shop, and now you receive a revision, okay? So instead of, yeah, like, you have sent it for issued for fabrication and now it's revision one. So now what issues we will face if we, send a file. So let's go ahead and see what we have here. So I'm going and open this project, and I'll go to my combine and set the multi-nest option, and uh, I'll, I'll just set a purchase order. And okay, so now what basically I'm doing is I'm setting the purchase order. So I'm sending the steel into my production. Okay, so we are going to see how the revision is being managed. So here I will, I'll just hit receive. So all the steels are received into my fabrication shop. And now I'll go to production control and I'll review the cut list. So I'm setting the cut list. So I'm only going to take the beams. So, so I'll selected white flanges and I'll send it into my production. Just save this cut list. I'll save as white flange. Okay. And I'll just set the date. So cut. So take from stock, and I'm setting the date for this. So both the steel, you can see the dates are set and it is in the fabrication shop for cutting. Let's review what is the status, production status. So you can see both the W members are into the shop, and we can see the status is being set. So now we have two scenarios in this condition. In SDS, we are going to copy the member, okay, and we are sending it, okay. And in second, we are going to delete, we are going to add a new beam, and then we are going to send it into PowerFab. So, and whenever we used to talk to fabricator, so they say it depends. So always suggest and ask the fabricator how he wants this steel to be, sent after revision. So you can see in my SDS, I'll just, first scenario, I'll just modify the beam. By 26, I'll change it. Okay. Now here is one thing, that all the status of these beams are already in PowerFab. So they already have the data and GUIDs of this, and in PowerFab they are already into the shop. So now when we export it, so let's follow the routine. So we just import, just see what is going on here. So let's import. You save this and map my files. So now the you can see the B2 is updated, but you can see it's saved for later because already in PowerFab there is a status that it is in the shop. Okay, and the B4 is the new member, the new quantity. So you have the option to take action on this. So now B3 nothing is there because Preeti is not changed. So now we'll continue to import. Here you can see the quantity is updated, okay, from 3 to 2 in the report. Yeah, but there is a problem that you can see that it is telling that unable to set the quantity from 1 to 2 because it is already in the shop and it is already in the process. And before there is no problem, so the quantity is updated from 0 to 1. Okay, and regarding B3, as I already told, there is no issue because B3 is nothing to do it, and B3 no changes is there. So now we'll again go to SDS, and now we are going to the next step. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the B2, okay, and I'm going to copy and add a new member. Okay, yeah. So now what the change happened is, like, SDS has an auto piece marking system. It's a wonderful system and it's very solid system where SDS assigns a system piece mark. Okay. So in this condition, when the piece mark is assigned, now it is assigned with the new GUIDs. Okay. GUIDs. So now we'll just change the profile size. Okay. So whenever you have a revision or you have to change a profile size, always prefer do not match, just click and double click, change the member. Rather, add a new member, delete the old one, and then export the PowerFab. Okay. So now in this condition, B2 is the only old beam. B3 there is no issue. B4 is the new one. B5 is the new beam which is added. So now we'll export and we'll see what happens here. Right. I'll save the file. Done. Map. And so now, if you see, so B5 is the new one. B4 we have already set the criteria, so there is no change. B2, if you see, it's written save for later. Okay. So, let's continue. And now if you can see that you cannot lower the quantity, it is telling that because it's already in the field, but the new beam is added. Okay. So now we'll see the production control status. Okay. So now here, if you see B2 still I have in two quantities. B3 is the new one. B4 is there and B5 is there. Okay. And it's a brand new member. Okay. But B2 still, if you see, I have my two quantities. Okay. So what you can do is, like, you can leave it as it is. Okay. Some companies will, want to deal this thing at the later stage. Okay. But at least in that inventory, they have the new beam. Or second thing, you can go into the status and you can just mark it as delete. So now if you can see, the review pending command will ultimately get disappeared. Yeah. So it got disappeared. So now what they can do is that one beam, they will, take it out of the shop. And at least currently they have all the new beams, that is B2, one quantity, B3, B4, and B5. So, whenever you have a revision, be very careful, how to deal with it. Okay, so now we will see the impact of finishes. So finishes, if for example, if any steel is painted, galvanized, so there are some cases where, due to non-consistency, you can face issues in PowerFab. So let's see. So let me open my finish, put a status display. So basically what we are seeing here is everything which is galvanized is in showing up in magenta color. Okay. So let's to take a look at the member. So you can see here everything is matching for both the members. Okay. But now the problem is generally with the piece mark. So if we take a look at these P1s, so you can see this material is galvanized and auto is checked. But if we go on the other member, the in surface finish, the auto is not, is not checked. Now, these kind of issues generally do not happen with, sub assemblies, but it happens when you're copying a member, you know. So if suppose both the members are, materials are having the same finish, it will not be a problem. But in this condition, since the beams are same, are having the same pitch mark, and even the submetal are having the same pitch mark, so when we import it into the power fab, we will face the issue. So now we'll see how does this happen. So you can see here the auto is not checked. Now when I copy this material to any, any main member which is having a different surface finish, so you can see since the auto is not checked, it will, do not have the intelligence and it will copy the same properties. Okay. Now you can see since the check is not there, so it is not updated. Now if I go and if I, check the auto command and I try to copy this. So now you will see since the auto is checked, it will automatically pick the surface finish of the main member. Now, if we edit these members, SDS has a very smart, intelligent feature. So you can see there's already an indication shown that material have user finish. But a lot of people just ignore these notifications and just send it the steel to fabricator. So now let's send this to PowerFab and see what exactly issues we will face in the PowerFab. So let's save this. Let's import the file. Okay. Let me create a new name for this project. Let's save this, map the files, and let's import this. Continue. Yeah. So now if you see here, it's that a duplicate main mark accessory not matching. So P1 material is having two finish. So, because the same different finish is applied to the same piece mark. So that's why this kind of error you will find in when you import the file into PowerFab. So now if we go and if we check our import log, you can see only one member is imported. Okay, so in this condition, if suppose there is, what PowerFab does is whatever the first member with a different finish, it picks and it imports it. For the other member, it just simply just ignore it. So in this condition, it's a small example, but if you have any, large quantity of beams where you have this issue, so there might be a chance that the member will not, get fabricated into the shop and will not go onto the site, and you will face last moment consequences. So always be, very particular about when you're putting the finishes. Okay. So the last thing what we have to discuss is the user piece mark. So I always suggest this is the most risky part. Okay. Whenever you are assigning a user piece mark, be very careful. If you're very sure, then only use the user piece mark, because SDS has a very solid system for auto piece marking. And if SDS find any issue or any discrepancy, it will assign a different piece mark, and always try to keep it as it is. So let's see what impact we face if we have a user piece mark. Okay. So we'll go ahead and open our piece mark model. So if you see here, I have created exaggerated example of two members with a separate and a different piece profile size. So for the plate, what I did, I basically mirrored it. So when I did it, you can see I have done a user piece mark for both the members as identical. And when I rotated, you can notice the reference point is shifted from near side to far side. And one more thing, you can see the hole is also, disappeared. So I always say be careful with the mirror option. I always prefer not to do it, rather use a copy and rotate. And another thing I want to point out is in two members, if the system details it, system always detail the lower piece mark or the member first in the batch. Similarly, in the beam, I have used the different profile sizes, but I kept the same section sizes. So let's grab this and export it to PowerFab. I always prefer, not to do a user piece mark, because, system, if SDS has an auto piece marking system, so if it is giving you a piece mark, a system piece mark, there might be some changes in the member. So let's import the file which we have exported into. So we'll just keep a different, piece mark number so we can, detect what is the different filing. Now we'll just, you know, import it. Let's continue. Now you can notice here the it is telling that the main mark is duplicate, and also you can see the warning message. Okay, so you know so we'll just go to production control and let's look at what is going on here. So you can notice only it has imported only one piece of both the member files. So basically it has detected the members are duplicate, and it has only imported the first piece mark, the lower piece mark. So that's why I always suggest, whenever you're exporting anything to PowerFab, always, don't do a user piece mark. Let system, whatever system has given a piece mark, keep it as it is. Okay, so the next thing we are going to discuss is, you know, now till this time we have, exported the file from SDS2. Now we will see the settings which the fabricator has to keep in his, PowerFab to properly import the SDS file. Okay, so the first thing what you have to do is, import process. So you can, go into your select file, import, and select the pfxs or XML file, and then you just import it. Okay. The next thing, you can add in the job and job description if different from the appeared automatically one. So sorry. So the next thing, okay, I want you to take a snap of this, the first image. It will be good. Why is you can always, ask your fabricator to, do this mapping. So here, if you see, this is PowerFab standard and this is SDS2. So he can always create it. How he can create it? He can select the PowerFab, he can copy this, and basically these are the fields. So what these fields do is, if you see this import field, so if SDS says member description, so in PowerFab it's supposed to go and map into categories. Okay, so same approval status should map with the drawing approval status. So, this is just a mapping field which you can send it to a fabricator and he can just, map this accordingly. Okay. Now, the thing is when you are mapping it, there is a window which appears like this, where it says, you know, all the similar data which SDS understand, it generally, just import the data. But if the data, it is unrecognized, it will tell you that the following shapes and size are not recognized by the program. You must select a valid shape. Okay. So just press no. Okay. So if you see here, HD is basically a stud. Okay. So, would you like to HD2 as an abbreviation of STD? Okay. So if you think it's correct, then it's okay. If it is not, so, always press no. Okay. And then you have to map it. Okay. Then the next thing what we have here is, in your maintenance integration setting, SDS2, okay, drawing type tab, remove this submaterial. So as I already told you when we were exporting the CNC file and the main package, we have only included detail sheet, direction sheet, and gather sheets. Okay, so there is no submaterial. So if you have this on, it will give you a prompt that there is no submaterial available. Okay, so do not do this, because for fabricator there is only a sheet, there is nothing like a detail or submaterial. Okay, then the next setting is under your maintenance production control, company standard and input setting tabs. you know there is only uppercase. I always recommend change it to uppercase and lowercase settings. Okay, sorry. What will happen, even if you have a uppercase or a lowercase piece mark, it will understand. Then this is the another setting which I want you to keep is under your project management. Ask your fabricator, go to global drawing log maintenance. And what he has to do is basically he has to map the names. Okay. So for example, the first example, if you see the assembly, okay, on main mark, okay. So in PowerFab or in Tekla, the assembly is your drawing. Okay. So you just have to add you have to go to new and you have to add it as detail sheet or detail sheets or sheet. Okay, so if it reads anything related to detail or detail sheet or details, it will directly map it into assembly. Similarly, for GA is your general arrangement drawing, which Tekla understands. So you have to add some other abbreviation, that is general arrangement, erection sheets, GA or erection sheet. Okay. So if he and get any name with this, it will directly tag it with GA. Okay. And same with the part sheet. So in Tekla they understand is part sheet. Okay. But we have gather sheets or gather. Okay. So if you keep this, if you heard anything like gather sheets or gather, it will directly map it into your part drawing. Okay. So let's go and understand, what we have to do. This is the last bite. What I want to, make you understand. You can send this to your fabricator also. He just have to do the setting and, you have a seamless export into your PowerFab. So the other thing I want to tell you is how to import a SDS file into a PowerFab. So let's import the file into the PowerFab. Okay, so let's import. So let me give a file name, whatever, and I'll just save this to project manager. Okay, so this I want to show you. So in this, if you see, it is telling that this is the mapping field. So it is telling me how you want to import the files. Okay, so you just say no, and when this screen opens, this is the biggest problem what the fabricator face the problem. So fabricators have Tekla PowerFab field, but they do not have it for SDS. So a lot of things are matching, like section size, shapes. So a lot of data is there which PowerFab knows where to map, but there is a lot of data like station codes, you know, which PowerFab do not know where to put. So for that, we have to create a mapping file. So which will, so if you see here, so this is a SDS2 mapping file which is created. Okay, so if you can see the member description, it's the data supposed to go into categories. Then station code, you know, supposed to go to the related field. So if you want to create a mapping file, you just have to go select new, okay, and just type the name, okay, SDS2. So I'm just writing hello and just hit add. So now if you see all the fields which are in PowerFab, are you copied here, okay? Then what you have to do is you have to now then start mapping these fields, okay? So these fields are already mapped. So what I want you to just take a snap of this and you send it to your fabricator. Where, so your fabricator will exactly know where he has to map. So for example, your member descriptions like your beam column and stair vertical is supposed to get mapped to categories field. Okay. Then the next option you have is your detailed complete date. Okay. So, if suppose this mapping is done once, then you do not have to worry about, okay? So as import a file from SDS, system is going to automatically know where the map need to be filled and where the data is supposed to go. So the second thing is detail complete. So if you see the detail complete dates, so you can see this information supposed to go into drawing date detailed, okay? Other than that, this next option is drawing description. So angle, beam, bend plate, channels, all these kind of description. So this is your production control module that's supposed to get mapped with the drawing description. Then resolution description should be mapped with your drawing revision description. So routing supposed to, map with your finish. Station code. So this station code supposed to push into your production code. An advanced mail goal needs to be mapped with your reference. Okay, so I thank you everyone for the for joining the webinar. Okay, so these are our support IDs and this is our Indian sale ID. So all the customers who are are currently connected with Nem India, we are going to have these kind of webinars frequently and we are going to send a webinar link onto the email IDs and we are also going to post it onto our LinkedIn page.